Hello, today I'll be talking about linear regression, which is a type of regression supervised learning. And if you haven't already, I recommend you watch the previous videos where I talk about machine learning in general and also supervised learning. So, as a recap, what is linear regression? Well, it basically finds the linear relationship between variables. Linear And you can kind of think of it as you're predicting a number based on another number. And this is very commonly used in statistical analysis to study the relationship between two continuous variables. So, um, yeah, let's just talk about the very basic equation. So, equation, you probably know this equation, which is y equals mx plus b, which is used for any type of linear graph. And so here y represents what we're predicting. So if we're using like the example of the house, price prediction, y is basically what we're predicting, or in other words, the house. M is the slope of the line. X is the variable we're using, so the input maybe like house size. And then finally B is obviously the y-intercept. And yeah, this is like, obviously like the basic concept of linear regression. And you're going to be using this equation. And since it's linear, we only have one variable here, so that we can represent our prediction with a straight line on a graph. And yeah, so if we're talking about how linear regression actually works, we're basically given two data sets, so x data and y data. And obviously each data set will have values of x and y, and we can plot the data on a graph. Actually, let's do this. So plot the data on the graph, and then essentially with this, we're trying to find the best straight line through the points. So in other words, the line of best fit. So obviously this isn't exactly what it is, but you can kind of imagine it as having like a graph of x and y, and then based on the various points in the graph, you're trying to find the line of best fit. And yeah, so essentially this line is our model. And based on this line, even if we're looking at points not in the data, based on the line, we can, look at the x value and then find the y value on the line to get our prediction done. And yeah, so let's talk about some advantages and limitations with linear regression. And I'll actually just make this smaller. Pros and cons. So what are the pros? Obviously, linear regression is very simple and easy to understand. It's a concept that we're already familiar with, i.e. just a linear line using y equals mx plus b. And yeah, so that's like the first, obviously, advantage of using linear regression because it's really easy to understand. So it's also fast to calculate because obviously we only have these two data sets and we just have to find the line of best fit. There's nothing else to it. And finally, it works well with a lot of real world problems. Now, obviously, it's not going to work for all of them, but it surprisingly works very well given that it's very simple and fast. So let's look at the cons. It always assumes that there's a linear relationship between variables, and that usually, or a lot of the times, that isn't true. So yeah, so obviously there's a bunch of things that can't really be described using a linear relationship. It's also sensitive to outliers because, as we talked about before, it's a line of best fit. So you're going to be accounting for all like the outliers and way off points, and that's going to really throw off how the graph works unless you account for the outliers in some way, by filtering them out or such. But just the standard linear regression is very sensitive and not robust to outliers. And yeah, this is kind of building on the first point, but it oversimplifies complex relationships. So yeah, obviously we know that not everything is linear, so if we try to like apply linear regression to everything, we're going to be missing out on a lot of different factors and variables that might be coming into play. And yeah, that's basically the introduction to linear regression. And we'll get into, the real world applications and how to actually apply it in future videos. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.